good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Those on the call, can you people hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Before we start, I think those here, let's do a brief introduction about ourselves. And also those on the call, we can also introduce ourselves. So let's start with this lady to my left. Abosede, Noimot, Charles, Adnola, Patience, Mildred. Okay. I have Alpha. So Mildred. Those on the call, can you guys please introduce yourselves? Or better still, we can use the chat option to, yeah. So we have David, Abel. Who else is on the call?
Samuel.
Okay, Samuel. Any other person? Ibrahim. Dolapo. Andrew. Okay. Solomon. Okay, I think there should be a way to this. Yeah, Chef and CB. So I'm Moshood. I'm a front-end engineer at Indicina Technologies Limited. Before Indicina, I worked at Konga online shopping company. I was in the Konga Pay team. So yeah, I think that's basically all about me. Just it. And let me say one last thing. I studied social work. So let's start with that. Now, I understand that you guys would have had classes in JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. So I believe some of us would have some understanding of CSS. But then this is Bootstrap. I'll be talking on how to develop with Bootstrap. So you said someone hates Bootstrap. I hate Bootstrap at some point in my life. Now, why would you hate Bootstrap? I think at some point in my life, in my development journey, I said, okay, I hate Bootstrap so much because I'd just rather write out everything myself. But then when you get to a point, I call it Bootstrap power user. When you get to a point in Bootstrap, you'll be able to build out anything that is given to you, even with Bootstrap. So a lot of people say they don't like Bootstrap because one of the major challenges is when you see a Bootstrap website or an app that was built with Bootstrap, you always see the Bootstrap feel in it. It could be the box shadows, it could be the colors. You always see that Bootstrap feel. But then when you get to a point, when you build a Bootstrap, there will be nothing. You would not even know that it was built with Bootstrap. So now let's go to what is Bootstrap? Now, what is Bootstrap? I define Bootstrap as a powerful Bootstrap is a front-end framework. It's one of the most powerful, and I think it's even the most popular. Yeah, it's the most popular compared to Zob Foundation, Bulma, Materialize. Bootstrap is much more popular, and it comes with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It includes a couple of designs. Now, Bootstrap helps you with fleshing out your design to some extent. With Bootstrap, you can build an entire page or even an entire app without writing a single line of CSS, just HTML and Bootstrap class. So it comes with typography, form, buttons, table, navigation, modals. I'll share the slide. I don't know. It comes with image carousel. It also features stack variables, mixing, responsive grid system. Now, what is responsive? Say I want to build cross-browser compatible or cross-device compatible apps or websites. So Bootstrap helps us with that. I would be quite fast with this part because I want us to build student graduate accelerator page with Bootstrap. So I will be quite fast with this, but I'll share this slide. So we'll build it to a point. It may not look exactly like it, but then when you compare the two, you see that this is what we built. So Bootstrap helps us in creating layouts with CSS. So why to use Bootstrap? So for instance, the last time I had to use Bootstrap, okay, I use it now for a couple of things. But then one of the major reasons why you want to use Bootstrap is number one, it comes with responsiveness out of the box. So you don't have to start writing media queries. You can build an entire website without writing media queries because Bootstrap helps you. And when we say responsive grid, on, say, for instance, can I get a page to use? Okay, take for instance, this is Bootstrap page. Take for instance, this is an iPhone X. This is how this page will look. When it's landscape, you can see, and when it's on a regular PC, you can see. So Bootstrap helps you with things like that out of the box. And did you also notice the navigation? Oh, okay. We'll come to that when we do it. So Bootstrap helps you with things like that. It makes it easy. Now, okay, before we go into the basics, let me show one or two things that I previously built with Bootstrap. So this was built with Bootstrap. Now, looking at this, it was built, I think it was 2 years ago, but this was built with Bootstrap. And also, I think I have two here that I would show. This was also built with Bootstrap. Now, let's look at this. Everything Bootstrap. This box shadows, the fact that this one takes, this is in the middle alignment. Instead of you having to do align center, so you can just, and then when we switch to mobile, this is it out of the box. And let me see the CSS of this page. So, okay, I think I compressed everything. So I would have showed you how much CSS I actually had to write. So this was also built with Bootstrap. Looking at this by default, you most likely would say, no, you would not believe it was built with Bootstrap because it doesn't look like the regular Bootstrap. Because that's one of the major reasons why people would say they hate to use Bootstrap, because there's always this Bootstrap feel that comes with building with Bootstrap. But then that is that. Let's get started with the basics. So, say we need to start building with Bootstrap as front-end engineers. There are two ways we could actually use Bootstrap. Number one, we could use the compressed file. Bootstrap can serve you compressed, say bootstrap.css, bootstrap.minify.css, and also we can use the source file. Most time when I work with the source file because I write SCSS, which is SAS here. So I use the source file. With that, it's even easier to just tweak and play around Bootstrap's core. Then, yeah, this is getting started. Now, we could use the CSS provided, and we could also actually use yeah, we use the page I'm looking for Bootstrap. And when we are building, we'll actually be building with the documentation, because I want to do it in such a way that even after this class, you can actually rebuild that accelerator page without, because if I start writing and I'm writing, oh, MD5, you would be like, oh, this guy already knows what he's doing. So we'll be following the documentation back to back. Now, so for this project, or for the sake of this class, we'll be using the compiled version that can be found on this Bootstrap download page. This is the download. So I'll download this, at least for now. So let's look at the zip file. This is what we have. Let me open the file. Let me open it. Downloads. Date modified. Okay, bootstrap.css. Now, this is the zip file. You can see CSS and JavaScript, just like we have in Onion. We have Bootstrap, CSS, and JavaScript. Inside CSS, we have the Bootstrap grid. Now, this is Bootstrap grid, the reboot, and the CSS. So the Bootstrap grid is, say for instance, you just want to use Bootstrap for scaffolding. So what is scaffolding? Scaffolding is, say you just want to use Bootstrap for your layout. You don't want to use Bootstrap utility files and their components. You just want to use it for layout. I want to use it such that, like what I did in one of those sites, if you want to use Bootstrap, one of them is just the layout. It was just, I think that was the Discover. It was used for just the layout. The other one was used for everything. So if you use Bootstrap grid, Bootstrap reboot, okay, what that one is for basically is, say for instance, if you look at, if you build a web page with just normal HTML and CSS, if you look at those web pages, if you do look at the web page on maybe 2 different browsers, there are some changes. It could be font, it could be a couple of things. Sometimes it's margin, sometimes it's padding. So Bootstrap reboot, it helps you reset a lot of those things. If I'm not using Bootstrap, I use either normalize or reset.css. So they also do the same thing. But then we have reboot and we have Bootstrap CSS. So Bootstrap CSS consists of both reboot, the grid, and all other Bootstrap components. While we have for JS, we have Bootstrap.bundle and Bootstrap.js. Let's look at our files. We have bundle, we have the JS, we have the JS.min. So this is minified. That's what we'll be using for most of the time. And this is the CSS. So now, I'll be using Bootstrap. Now, say for instance, we want to write a simple, we want to start using Bootstrap. This is like the simplest, there's a lot of comments here, so let's do. This is like the simplest form. You have your default hello world. We have bootstrap.min.css, and we have the JavaScript. But then a lot of Bootstrap JavaScript utilities or plugins, they actually work, they need jQuery before they can work. Are we conversant with jQuery? Okay, jQuery is when I say it's a JavaScript framework or a library, it's more of a library, yeah. jQuery is a JavaScript library that can be used to, that helped us do a whole lot of things that we do to have written in JavaScript. For instance, say I want to, it's been a while since I wrote jQuery. For instance, I want to target an ID in JavaScript. I'll do document.getElement by ID. But then with jQuery, I don't need to do document. I just need to use the $ dot bracket hash the ID, and that picks the ID. So jQuery makes development a little easier. But then, although for now we have things like React, we have Angular, so with those you really don't need to use jQuery. But if you are building, say for instance, you are building just a website, you may need to use jQuery. So here we have jQuery and we have Bootstrap.min. Now let's just write this out. I'm also time conscious. So, maybe I should just share the code I wrote. No, this is yes. Okay, maybe I just open my yeah. Live server. So, say we have the hello world. Yeah. Oh, please. Let me share my screen. Let me share the code. So we have the hello world. Now, let's look at this. We have title and just our hello world. This is Bootstrap, the JavaScript jQuery and Bootstrap.me. Now, I think this is the file we'll work with. Let's work with that file and move on to the presentation. Now, this is a basic hello world. Bootstrap grid. So I mentioned earlier that you could use Bootstrap for just the gridding. And to say, for instance, we want to have a 2-column grid. With this line of code, this 1, 2, 3, 4, we can have 2 columns. Now, let's try it out. I will need multiple. Now, okay. If I do this anymore. So this, we just these 4 lines of code without writing a single line of CSS. This is what we'll come up with. I could add more. Bootstrap has the Bootstrap 4, I think, yeah, from 4 uses flex. So it just works like display flex. Now let's remember to check on mobile. How does it look on mobile? We have our 1, 2. Then let's have a new. Now that is just a basic. That is the basic Bootstrap grid. This is a basic Bootstrap grid. Say for instance, I want a grid with 3 columns. Okay. Say for instance, I want a grid with 3 columns, but one of the columns, it's automatic. The width is auto. It's based on the content. By adding just call auto to as a class, it works. It does that. Let's try it out. Okay, let's do it with what we have. Call auto. Say something. I didn't hear you. Okay. Let me fill this with a lot of text. So now, because the text is so large, it just broke into an entire column on its own. But let's say we have a paragraph. And we give it, say, a width of page 200 pixels. So we'll give it a width of 200 pixels. Now, we may not see what we are doing, or you may not see it in the effect. See the effect there. Let's have a style that says dot row border. Let's add a border. Okay, I'll explain. So what this does is anything that is within row, everything that comes inside here, you should have, oh, this won't work because I have a paragraph here. It won't work. But let me show you what it does. Everything that comes inside, everything between here and here would have a border of 1 pixel. 1 pixel. You can see paragraph has a border, everything has a border. The row would have, without the asterisk, we are trying to say we are targeting the row. But when we use the asterisk, we are saying all children of this particular thing. So if we have the asterisk, it's the row. But then I can't even use that. But let's do this. Okay, let me just say dot col. I don't want to just write out dot col directly because I'll be having a lot of columns. So now you can see because we gave this 200 pixels. So that is with variable width. Then responsive grid. Now you notice that this was not responsive and this is currently not responsive. What do we do? Let's add SM. You didn't see the effect of auto. Yeah. So why I gave the speed one? Okay, let's do this. Let me remove the paragraph. Why I gave it 200 is so that it doesn't take the entire flow. But let's do this. Let me reduce the amount of content I have inside. I'm going to bad code already. So now, can you notice the effect now? Say, okay, let's increase the step. Let's see. So the more the content grows, it keeps growing. So without, let's remove the auto. So without the auto, what happens is this row, it means this row has 3 columns and each of the column would have equal width. Yeah. That is why it looks like, yeah. So sometimes you may want to use it. Say for instance, you want especially when you are building when it's responsive. Say for instance on a 1080 by 1920 by 1080 on a desktop screen, large desktops, you want this particular thing to fill up to let me say you want it to actually take the width, a particular width. But on mobile, you want it to actually fill based on the size of the content. Say for instance, we are using an image. So on mobile, or on tablet, we want the image to actually take the entire size of the column rather, to take the entire amount of space available for the image or the entire width of the image. But then on desktop, we want to give it a particular width. So with that, it could be useful. So, but then let's do, so we noticed, like I said the other time, this was not responsive, and this is currently not responsive. I like to use iPhone 5, like this. So this is not responsive. Then let's just add SM. Then those on the call, can you guys see my screen? If you have a question, please let's. Okay.
Hello, Adedayo.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Hello, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? David, can you hear me?
I have a question, please.
Yes, you have a question?
Yes.
Can you please send the question to the chat?
Okay. All right.
I think. So, by adding just SM, it takes 100%. So let's do something. SM 4. No, let me do this 6. 3, 6. Explain why I have with 6 and 3. Three. This should work. Okay. I'll see why this is not working. That's something I'm trying to do. But then by just adding SM to our column. David, I'm still waiting for the question. By adding SM to the class, so making the class call SM, can we add the UL list inside Bootstrap column? Yes, we can. Okay, let's do it. Let's just write it. This one as a two, 4, 5. So let me remove this border. This border will keep terrorizing us. But then David, this is what we have. So when we use ULs inside, this is what we have. And yeah, so that is for responsive. Let's check out some Bootstrap components. Say I need to create an alert. We just use, okay, let me write them on top instead. I didn't hear you. Okay, why are they no more displayed as a row? Comment is. They are no longer displayed as a row because we added this SM to the call. And SM means, okay, maybe I think I should actually explain a couple of things in this component. So SM means small devices. So for Bootstrap, we have the, I see what's happening. So we have XS, we have SM, we have MD, LG. So, and we have just code. So when we are trying to target extra small devices like mobile phones, we use the XS. When we are trying to target, say, things like tablets, depending on I think iPad, when it's landscape, no, when it's portrait, that's SM. We have the MD, that's, I think, when an iPad is landscape, it's MD. we have LG, which is large devices. I think that stops at 1200, okay, 1199 is yours. Then we have extra large, but then extra large, we really don't use extra large. I don't think you even have to ever write extra large. It's always from MD to XS to LG. So let me open, okay, maybe I should open the code for NQLB instead. So you can see how the code itself is structured. NQLB. So for the NQLB site that I showed earlier, this is the this is how the website itself is. So let's try it. You can see now, you can see a whole lot of classes. Let me move to where I have. Okay, you can see code 12, LG9. So here I have code 12, which means by default this is 12. On medium devices, it should take 5. On large devices, it should be 4. So, okay, you can see, for instance, look at this. This would do everything. Now, let me show my CSS. Okay, now this is it. Okay, although it's quite much, but this is basically everything. If you look, okay, I have some media queries, I have media queries in some places, but then if you look at it, so like I said when you use the SCSS also, there are ways you could do it in such a way. You can use it as a power user, as I like to call it. So I'm saying for body, by default, the font size is 14 pixels. But then when it's on a side media of large, anything from large, it takes 16 pixels. So those are like really from default. You can see I use media queries, but then it just depends. But without media queries, we can still do a lot of things. Now, you have a question? Okay, please go ahead. Like text or images. Okay. So it depends on how you are working on it or how you build it. So say for instance, you have a carousel, by default that should be code 12 because on all devices it takes 12. Say for instance, inside a carousel you have, say, a paragraph. On the paragraph you want it such that on large devices, okay, let me show like NQLB. So like NQLB, I would say this is like a carousel. Now, this text, when it's on a large device, it takes 6 columns. Now, Bootstrap, okay, when people ask questions, I'll echo them. So Bootstrap, the way Bootstrap works is that it has 12 columns. It's divided into 12 columns. Although you can extend, but by default, and that's where I know a lot of people use the default. Bootstrap is 12 columns. So when working, it now depends on how you can determine how you want to do it. This, for instance, I have 6 and 6, although this one extends outside of 6. For this part, I think this is 8 and 4. I have 4 and 8. So this is 4, 4, 4. So everything always comes up to 12 in Bootstrap. So in this carousel, for instance, if you have a carousel that looks exactly like this, on large devices, you want it to take 6 columns, while on small devices, you would want it to take 12 columns. I hope you get that. So on large devices, For Bootstrap, everything, the entire screen is calculated into 12. Small, medium, anyone, it's 12. So say on a large device like this one, for instance, you want the text inside your carousel to be to take up 6 columns out of 12. Because if it takes up 6, you have extra space on the right. But then on a mobile device, say for instance my mobile phone, if you decide to take up half, it means the text will be so tiny or it would look somehow. So that's why for some devices you would want to take up 12. Like looking at this now, you can see that when this is like this, I did it so that I think this is the heading itself. This is, look at this. This is, I have code 12, code MD10. So which means, I think, someone on the call, everyone mute. I can hear myself back. Okay, I think it's better now. So we have 12 here. We have 10 for medium devices, and for large devices, okay, by 12 medium, and I have 6 for large. Do you understand? So on large devices, for maybe 13, a large device, let's just like, I want it to take up half of the screen. It takes up half. Although this is more than this is. I mean, on this, for instance, I want it to take up half. If you look at this screen, you can see that if we divide the screen into 2, this takes up like half of the screen. On a medium device, because if you look at this stage, for instance, it takes up more than half of the screen. Okay, this image may be deceiving us. Let's remove the image. Opacity 0. Opacity 0. So now, so looking at this, you can see. Yeah. Okay. And this image. So if you look at it here now, this actually takes more than half of the screen. Because I said it should take 10. Is it 10? So okay, let me so this takes 10. No, this is less than 10. This is 6. So this is 6. On smaller devices, you can see, okay. Now this takes 10, but then it has a padding on the left. And on a small device, it takes up the entire column. So you can have a carousel with, or not just a carousel, anything entirely. You can style anything to exactly how you. Yeah.
My question is, are you going to style the text separately, or it will take the feature of the carousel, the style you're giving to the parent, what's it called, item or something?
You style it differently.
Style it differently.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's do presentation.
I think what she's saying is, if you increase the width, do you have to also increase it for the text? Or you just, like, if you have on a medium page and on a small page you want it to have 12, do you have to also design the style or you just conform to 12?
So everything inside the column will conform to the width of the column.
Yeah.
So it's just like saying, is that what you're asking? Okay, so it's just like saying, this water, if I try to add more, it would overflow. But then, as long as there's like a barricade. Yeah, I'm following the message. So it's just like I've defined a space. You cannot go beyond. You cannot go beyond this. So that's why when we defined a paragraph and styled it 100 pixels, 200, that's why everything fell, everything erupted. And also when we change it to code, just like this, the text, the content will always wrap to fit.
Because we're given a task, and whenever I reduce the size of the device, the text overflows.
When you see overflow,
I mean, it comes out of the container. Do you understand? It comes out of the container. Part of it comes out of the container. So the question is, am I going to have to style that font to reduce when the screen size reduces?
okay, yes. So the way most time when you when working with CSS, even not just Bootstrap itself, CSS generally, for different screen sizes, a lot of time we have different font sizes. Because say for instance, a font set 50 pixel, if you check 50 pixel on a small mobile phone, it will look really awful. So a lot of time you have to style, especially font size, you have to style the font sizes.
But sorry, when you want to use the media, you are going to use media query for that, yeah.
Yes. You
So how are you
do.
going to know, like medium now, we don't know the measurement of the pixel. I think that usually like causes problems sometimes. Because when you reduce, like when you are medium, your column has gotten to medium, but your text, maybe you didn't get to that pixel size as media query. So how are we going to know like the size of your MD on your Bootstrap, like the
Yeah,
screen size?
I get that. So most of these things have been fixed by Bootstrap. I'm looking for the. So with Bootstrap, so now when building anything you are doing, every time you would always, especially when you are working with Bootstrap and when you are starting out, you would always check Bootstrap documentation. So I know I can't remember exactly where. Okay, this is it. They've given us the screen sizes already. So extra small is anything less than 576 pixels. Small is anything greater than 576 pixels. Medium is 768 pixels and above. Large is 991 pixels and above. While extra large is 1200 pixels and above. It's on Bootstrap documentation, layout overview. But there's this something, yeah. This is the sample CSS. You can see media when you say minimum width. So can you see it? Okay, so I think this answers the question. So with your media queries, you can style the text especially, because I know text is like one of the things you have to really change the size. If it's images, it automatically takes the width. So
Another one, quick one, sorry. There are some times that using grid, using MD, SM, LG, like it is working. But sometimes when you try to minimize your screen, like as you are going small, some parts will not be like responsive until you get to like maybe medium. But as you are doing it like gradually, some parts will not be responsive. Does it matter? Like do you have to style it separately at media query, or you can leave it like that?
So can you explain? I think I understand. I want you to explain.
Like now, if you have like three boxes, right, and maybe At LG, they are 333. Then at MD, they are like maybe 44 or something. Then at SM, they are 6 or 12. That's like the style you get. So now, if you are now okay, you styled it on Bootstrap, you didn't use any CSS for that. So now, if you are now trying to minimize your screen to see if it works, so the boxes are supposed to like automatically come down. Like since they are occupying 6 6 now, they're supposed to be on a straight line, one by one. But sometimes when you're minimizing, before you get to that SM where you have 12 12 12, it becomes rough kind of. Until
Okay.
you now get back to your SM, then it looks good.
So yeah, that happens also. Can you?
Oh, sorry.
So that happens also, but the challenge, the issue with that a lot of time is when designing, a lot of time the issues comes from the design time. So when designing, sometimes you'd have expected that, okay, on this, say for instance, on small devices, this thing should not be, I think I had a challenge at some point when I was designing, when I was doing this. Let me confirm where the issue was. I remember I had that challenge. Okay, let's check this part of the code, for instance. So initially, what I did was, since this, at least, I believe it won't make sense to have this fill the entire page. So what I did was I still had, at this point, I still had 444. So when you start coming, then it starts getting really ugly. Let me update this code. Offset 3. So let's do, is this the correct one? Okay. So at this point, I was using MD4, and it was really becoming tiny, and having this, it doesn't look so legible. So one of the things you have to do is you have to design it in such a way that at each breakpoint, we call it breakpoint, at each breakpoint, it still shows very well. No, it may not be media query. It will just be like, it will just mean that between breakpoint A and breakpoint P, you should have, say for instance, you say small or medium. At medium, you should have made sure that it actually would look well from the design time. From the time you are thinking about the design, how the site will look itself, you would have made sure, okay, on medium devices, it will still look well. Alternatively, what I always do, if, for instance, at SM or MD doesn't look so good, what I do is I use SM for it. So which means, do you get that? So for instance, I have on LG, I have three. So I have a row with 4 columns, which each of them is 3. On LG, yeah, it works. On medium devices, 3, 3, 3, 3, it starts becoming very tiny and ugly. So what I just do is, instead of having them in 3s, I just have it in 6. So I have 6, 6, and then I know automatically it breaks to the next screen. Yeah, it does. So sometimes what I then do is, instead of having 6, I could do it in such a way that the row itself, I already give it a padding so that it stays in the middle. So it doesn't look like it's too large and it doesn't become too tiny. So Bootstrap has a couple of components. It has the alert. I'll share this. So we have alert, we have nav. Okay, maybe I think I did something with, maybe I should just, so that we don't have to, okay, component. Okay, this is something on the responsive now. This, I have first column of the second column of this column. Now let's look at this. Because for each of these, I used col. I didn't add a media side. So for each of these, if you check them, even at small, it still takes its exact size. Even if you use the smallest of sizes, it still takes the exact size. You can see this stays in 3. But then this was 2 before. Now, because you're on a small device, it turns to 3. It picks a whole row for itself. And these ones, they still remain how they were. So for Bootstrap, you don't necessarily have to. It does not necessarily have to be equal colon, like I have demonstrated here. You can have, looking at this, this is wider than these 2 columns, and this is also wider than this other column. So for components, because I'm looking at time and I want us to actually build the accelerator page. Even if we are not able to complete it, we should at least build. So, but I want us to build something with Bootstrap. So for components, say for instance, this, okay, let me start with this alert. This exact code, this a simple primary alert, that is what we talk about this. And each of these has to do with just this code. You see, without CSS, we have this. We have buttons. Okay, this is nav. Now let's look at nav. This is the nav. So let me change this. Now, say for instance, we have the student logo. We have and where is the CSS? Where is the HTML? This is everything. No line of CSS, no JavaScript, and we have it collapsed and can. So this is purely just HTML and CSS, and with Bootstrap. Next one is button. Each of our buttons styled, even with borders and no background over, because Bootstrap has handled everything for us. Next, we have form. By default, this is not how the input element looks, and this is not how checkbox looks. But because we have consulted Bootstrap to do this for us, and we just all we needed to do was this is form. Input class equal to form control. We had the form group, we had form controls on the input, and then give us this. This is the carousel. So let's use text for this carousel instead of images. So I hope everyone can see my screen well. So for the carousel, this is like the main code. I think that's about 20-something lines of code that give us the carousel. But here, let's use, instead of h1 class, go to display, I think display 1 or so. Hello world. So let's change everything. So I want to demonstrate the question you asked the other time about so this is hello world. We have hello 3. Hello. Let me use speed because we are just 10. No. So we have hello 3, hello 2, hello world. Now, looking at this on mobile devices, so you see the text is still quite large. So because, like I mentioned, you have to do your text in such a way that it still displays better in. So what we could do is, there are two things: display SM3. Let's consult Bootstrap documentation. Display. Display. Oh, I don't think the display. I don't think display. Oh, wait. I don't think the display actually works. Okay, it doesn't use this. Okay, it doesn't work with media query. But then what we could do for this, for instance, is we would just set with media queries. We just pick the font sizes. Because if you look at this on a small device, this will actually look, let's see how it will look on, say, an iPhone. Okay, this doesn't look so bad. But then if the text is actually large, say for instance, hello world and Moshood, then it begins to make no sense. So something like this, so these are some of the little things we'll be fixing with CSS. Although there is also a way to do it such that I could do it without using CSS, but for me, I don't think this makes sense because it just increases your page load time. I could have G plus DFS G D now. So what I could do is yes is block and this one DXS now. Then I use display 4. No, this is not working. This is not working. There's something I'm not doing right. Yeah. Okay. Display none on SM. But okay. Display none and display XS block. So this is another thing I could do. So for instance, you can see this one looks small, and when the size of the screen increases. But that doesn't make sense because eventually something is not right. Oh, something is not right. Okay, because so what that one would do is to have multiples. So for each screen size, you show this. For each screen size, for this, you show this. For that, you show. But that won't make sense because it just means that, say, for instance, you want to have. It means if you change something in one, you have to go and look for everywhere. It doesn't even make sense. So the easiest way to fix that is just using CSS to fix. So we have the carousel. There's other things. Okay, we have cards. say, for instance, this is card component, and this is the entire code that brought about the card component. So I have a class, I have a div with a class of cards. I have the image, card image with a class of card image top. I have a card body that has a title and a text. So that is what brought about this. So Bootstrap actually has a ton of components that we could work with, a whole lot of them. And the best place to check them out is, okay, let me just open the component. You can see there's a whole lot of them. I have the collapse with just these lines of code. You can create this. With just this, okay, we checked the last. We have media objects. He had actually a ton of things you could do. Could have a modal, although this works with CSS and JavaScript, but with just very little lines of code. We had that. So I think let's try to build out the certain GA page with Bootstrap. And also I would need to change my position. So let's see this. Let's see if I can use this instead. It's too tall, but I think it's better than having to move my neck all around. Okay, I was thinking maybe to face. So let me sit down here instead. Oh, okay, I need to start sharing again. Desktop too. Okay, so let's build out to 10 GA page. I think I have it open somewhere. So let's try to build this out with HTML, with Bootstrap. So I'm using PHP Storm as my. So we'll have Bootstrap. I think I need just 4 strings here. I have pretend I have the browser that will show my code. So let's start. Can you see my screen well? Check on the monitor. Okay. Then GA. That's my terminal live server. Oh, I did on deck. So first is let's start by bringing in Bootstrap. So you don't need to down. So there are two ways. You could just you could use it with the CDN. There is what we call CDN. You understand CDN, where you don't have to download it. It's already hosted online. You could use that, and you could just download. A lot of time, I download most time. Yes, exactly. So, but because we already downloaded Bootstrap today, so I don't need to download again. So move this. And this thing just hide. Code example. Oh, okay, live coding. So I like to have a separate folder that I call assets. So I have my JavaScript, CSS, and images. So now let's start. First, we link our CSS slash Bootstrap. Let's use the Bootstrap unified assets. Now, let's start. I want to include the JavaScript. So, I'll need it actually. So first thing is we want to build out the header. Now we learned that Bootstrap has a nav component, nav bar component. So we just come here, copy, paste, and start working with it. Copy, paste, and start working with it. So I had this 10 logo. Where is this 10 logo? So I would have loved to explain each and every code that we are copying from Bootstrap, but I'm not sure we'll be able to complete. So here we have our student logo. This is what we are building. So we have student logo. We have courses. I don't think we need to have it drop down. Courses for employers and for talent. Employers for talent. So then we have login and take course. So, but then if you look at this, the login and take course, they look more like buttons. So we'll be using buttons for that instead of nav link. Okay, I think it's better. So take a course. And login. So because button primary, let's check button primary, and we know we have buttons and we have BTN outline. So we can have the outline buttons instead of the regular buttons. So we use BTN outline. Let me call it secondary. Oh, sorry, that's not what I intended to do. So we have the take course and okay, this is take course and login and take a course. Next is we want to, now this text is on the right side of the screen, not on the left. So Bootstrap has a utility class called auto margin. So because now if you look at flex, if I do a margin left auto, automatically it pulls it to the right. If I do a margin right auto, it's on. So let's give it a margin. And like I said, Bootstrap is based on CSS flex. It's based on flex. So let's do two things. We can have this in a div. No, it doesn't make sense. Oh, sorry. Then we have EML auto. Do you see that? Next. Yes, because we gave it margin left auto, so it looks at this from here to here. So we give it a margin left auto automatically. Now for this, if you look at it, they are joined together. We want to give them a margin. We have utilities. I think they're under utilities. Margins, or is it spacing or spacing? So we have margin. So we can see margin stop. Oh, where is this? Okay, like this. We have P3. I don't just want to be writing them. I want you to margin left. Okay, we have P2. That is a padding. We have MR auto. We have a couple of those. I'm looking for where exactly okay, this is further. No, this is not what I want. Let me just go ahead and. So with that, I'll just give it a margin left of 3. You can see there's a spacing between here and here. So it's now up to 3. Let's do 2. And I can give this. I can also give this a. Now, there's an issue with this because while developing, we want to also consider mobile. No, I like to use 5. I like to use iPhone 5 when I'm developing because JavaScript. Because I believe if you use any phone whose screen width that the screen of your width is less than iPhone 5, then I think you just dispose your phone. So I think the iPhone 5 is 320 pixel wide. So I don't think there's any screen. What did you say? Like, so, but I don't think there's any phone. I know there are a couple of phones, but I don't think they are so popular that have a screen that is less than 320 pixels. So let's add a JavaScript. I think I have JavaScript somewhere. Let me use I know I had the JavaScript in the code from, okay, so let's use this. And I had the JavaScript jQuery. So let's add jQuery to JavaScript and jQuery. So I mentioned CDN the other time. So if you look at this now, I'm linking it from somewhere, from code.jquery.com, because I don't want to have to download to my PC. Now let's look at our JavaScript. I mentioned that there's an issue. I gave it a margin left. So, and also when you are building, a lot of time, it is always recommended that you build mobile first because more than 60% of the web is mobile. So if you are building and you are building specifically for laptops before, then you are just wasting your time. So it's always better to build mobile first. And if you can't build mobile first, what you could do is ensure while you are building, you are checking on mobile and other devices. So because this is like I mentioned, there's a challenge with this thing. Like I mentioned, there's a challenge with this. So what we'll do is now, we want to do it such that since our mobile responsiveness comes in on medium devices. So from large devices above, from large devices, we want to, I think this is large, no, medium device actually. So on medium devices and below, you don't want to give it a margin left. But on large devices and above, on medium and above, rather, we would give it a margin. So I'll do MLMD2. Okay. That's small, rather. SM2. So if you look at this, this thing keeps annoying me. The width of this screen is, okay, I know what to do. So if you look at it, yeah, we have our margin. I don't like this 2, let me give it 3. So, but then, when we're on a smaller device, it's supposed to be empty, sorry. I keep, BLG. What size does Bootstrap collapse? This thing collapse. So, okay, I think the mobile collapse, the nav collapse on LG. So we have, now for this, what we could do is we want it to be block to take up the entire space. So we could just make it take up this entire space. So we could just do D block. Now there's an issue with this. Oh, sorry, width 100. This is width 100. Now, something is, yeah, display block, something. Oh, I'm actually, so let's give this a class width 100. So this works. But then sometimes we could have issues with this. This works because we are using nav. So what we'll do is width for MD, no, width 100 and width auto for large devices. So here we are saying the width should be 100, but anything from large device and above, it should be auto. So here we have the width as 100. Or let's follow what student has. I won't go with this. This is okay. On student instead, it is okay. Another thing we could actually do, another thing we could do instead is we could do it such that on small devices, when it's around, because if sincerely, if we decide to do it to be 100% here, it looks very large. So you could do it such that on this device, it takes 50-50. The login takes 50%. So like I mentioned the other time that from the time of the design, you're already thinking of how to implement. So a lot of time it avoids issues like this where you have to start thinking while building. So we'll do it such that on mobile phones, it takes 100%, but on tablets, it takes 50% each. So we do W50 SM. Let me move this to, let me copy this also to W50 SM. So when I do this, with, let me see the with classes available. With 50, let me check this. Okay, with 50. With 50, with 50. Not, okay, it's not displaying. It's not displaying them as well. Okay, we could have a div. No, put them in a div. I didn't get it. Okay, let's do that. But a lot of time when I'm working, I like to follow semantics. So I try to avoid some. So things like this, normally things like this, I'll just have fixed with class. I'd have fixed with CSS. I'm listening. No, not like it's not professional, but ideally you should not have a div inside a UL. So you should not have a div. Although people use, a lot of time people use div for everything. I can use div for this now, but then it's not good semantically. Just the buttons themselves. Okay, if I was to do this in...
I don't please use mic now so we can hear.
Okay, so you should use mic. So ask your question with the mic.
What's my question, Lily? So I said, like, how can we, you said you don't want to use div because it's not proper enough. So I'm saying, how can you use CSS without adding a div? And how will you target those two buttons?
Okay, for this, I could use a span. No, even span doesn't work. So ideally, let me look at this. So I would add a class on each of them. So it will be the same class. So, but wait, what happened? Is with 50 that caused it. Because I gave it 50% width. Okay, let's have it that on mobile it shows ML. So I'll do it such that MT MD3. So the margin top on medium devices has MTMD. So that there's a margin. I think I like it to be 50. Why is width 50? Okay, this width 50 works here. No, this should not be 50 actually. This is width. This should have a width 15. Then this should also have a width 15. And this should be D inline flex. So I think someone asked the question the other time about if I'll keep adding the styles. You can see D inline flex. G inline flex. This should work. Let me look. 50. Okay. Another thing we could just do is login. This should also be with 100. So I think let's go on with this. I'll come back to, let's see if we can finish before time. I'll come back to fixing this to, so even with, let's check Bootstrap with auto. Let's check if responsive. I know there is width. No, I think it's just width 100. Am I getting not layer, multiple lines setting with no components, examples, slides, and link content, utilities. Yeah, these are one there. So let me see. So I think it's just a width 100. Oh, I didn't know that. So I can't, which means I can't even use this. I can't use this. Let's proceed without, with, let's LG auto. I didn't hear you. My flex, removing this. I don't want this. Why is this showing? Let me just remove this. With then margin top 0. Sorry, margin top LG 0 and margin top 3. Do you all understand up to here? People on the call.
No.
Okay. Do you have any questions? Where do you think you lost the?
Okay, where you lost me is on making the medium screen, large screen, all those changes we've done. I want to know where your mind is at making those changes.
I didn't get that. Can you please come again?
The changes that you've been making, like trying to give a width of 50 and then width of 100, what are we trying to achieve at that point?
Okay, so what I wanted to do is we wanted to make it such that on medium devices, each of these takes a 50% width. So we have login on the left and take a course on the right. But for now, let's move on without that. So I would have my style.css, which is my own style. So new style.css. So now, in my own style, first thing I want to have is, and is it possible to know this thing? First thing I want to have is, so I want to style this to not have a background. Nav.bg, nav, just navbar. So what's the tense? Okay, let's use a. So first we need to know what it's styled. No, at what point the style is added. So nav by styled. Okay, because you have a BG light. And this has importance. Background color is important. So what if we remove these? I know BG light. So now, okay, now bar dark because we want the text to be light. So then let's pick student's background color. So I think it was built with Bootstrap also. So we have our background color here. Then we have a padding. There's something I should do also. Padding top, and padding bottom. Say 10 pixel. No, I prefer to use 20. 20 pixel. So now we need to make some changes. Let's look at Bootstrap also. There's a way to, I need to move this chair. No, extend. So, I know there's a way to change the colors without having to do too much. I want to change that button, the primary button, the default color of the primary button. It's not there. So I know it's, let me confirm. So because we don't want to start, by default, we already have our primary button. So we don't want to start having to write out an entire style. So we want to just change it such that when we use primary button, it gives us this color. And the text is that color. There are two things we could do, but I want to change the, just do the between the primary background and color. Oh, too many important. And why is this not taking effect? So button primary. Looks like CSS. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we change it already. We change the color. I think this is good color. Then we say border color. None or transparent. So this is our button. Looks like okay. This is our button. Can remove the box shadow. Okay. Then we start the secondary button also. So BTN secondary. So we want to do it such that, it doesn't have a color, it's transparent. Okay, by default, transparent. Border 2 pixels, border color white, and color is white. Then remove not it the screen itself. Something looks like. Okay, I think it's the screen itself. Let me check. It has one effect that's making my eye feel warm. Okay, I think it's the screen. Okay, it's the screen. So it has one, looks like it has a shadow. It's the screen. So now we can say we are done with this part. Then we know we add some padding here. We could do it two ways. I could add a class to this. Nav item would add a class to this. So now there are two things I could do. Margin left 30 pixel. Oh, sorry, 5. I think it's between 0 and 5. Then this works, but then the issue would be on mobile. Okay, I need to change these colors also. On mobile, you can see, so we'll be doing margin left LG 5. So, but as you're building, always ensure to check the. Now, you can see we are done with this part. Also, looks like there's some more padding. You can just add nav item. Margin left, you can see 20 pixel. So to give more room between. That's also something we could actually do. Instead of having to add all this margin left, we just, because, let me update this. We could add a margin. Oh, why is this? Margin. Okay, because this has a 0. Then why is this not? Why is there no padding here? Because now I can imagine left 20 pixels. Now I can. Okay, so, but for this, I want to give it more margin. As margin left LG space 5. Okay. So let's default to what we previously had. So we can then say there is one thing I also like to use. You know, we could use end child when styling. So we could say end last. So this, let's see. Okay, this. We could use end child, and we could also just add a class to this. Let's add class to this left margin. But when you're adding a class, make sure the class is something that you would easily understand. So margin left, say 50 pixels. Then the header part is done. Let's move to this bigger part, the hero. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. The
Boss,
like this.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, we can have this. Why you did do this? We can have this. So we just add some stuff to just update our CSS. And also, our own button here has an outline. The one on the website doesn't. So now, first color is white. But no. So then we, oh, why? After let me drag media queries for this. Then you say navbar button. So we may have to add a row. Let's come back to that. But it's something we could do with, we'll do it with, oh, there's an image. We'll do it with custom styling. So those styles will be written here. Then let's move to this. The hero part, let's have a section. Section container div dot row div dot home. Now can make it 10. We have in demand H1. H1. So ID hero. Next, I believe you understand why I use the asterisk. Background color. Then let's say we have a height of 100 VH. So next is we have this paragraph. So some of these things I'm typing it because I know what they are. Then we have button. Let's copy our button from here. So now this button is larger. You can have button large. So we have BTN LG. When we add this to our button, it becomes a larger one. Then, okay, we can view our courses. Then we can text center. Provide. So now, next thing is we need to make this in the center. There are two ways. Okay, and this also we can give. Let's give this display one. No, that's too large for your career. That's too large for us. Let's see. Display two. Okay. Okay, I think this is good. This is good enough. Next, we would align center, justify. So this is basically how you'll be doing when you are working with Bootstrap, because for most of the time, especially based on the fact that this is how we want the button to be, based on the fact that it's not like you understand all the, you know all the classes. You can see it's now center aligned, and then there's align item center. So basically what I'm doing here is just copy and paste. Okay, so I can do H100 and sometimes I know, okay, I think one of these is, I have this challenge almost every time too. I think it's the, okay, yeah, Euro display flex. Display flex, yeah, and then I give the container. So with that done, let's also give this a display flex. I think by default the deflex. So okay, it's now center, but then I want to do such that, let's check the height of this. This is about 81 pixel. Let's say minimum height 100 minus 81 pixel, because I want to do such that it picks the joy. So do you understand also where we are? Oh, there's a small paragraph on here. Do you have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Okay. Do you still have to use display flex after using the flex here?
Yeah. Okay. So thank you. Now what I will do is I'm used to write. Let me remove it from here. Then I apply the class to this itself. So it works now. So I'm adding the, I'm trying to make this hero flex so that this, and also this container flex. What I want is this container should be the height of. Alternatively, I could do align center item here. Still works the same. So which means by default, this arrow, anything in this arrow would be vertically centralized. Do you get that? Okay, so yeah. Although it's not looking, what we have is currently not looking fun as a person. Okay, why did I subtract the height? So that's because I want this, I don't want the first screen to go beyond the fold. So I want it such that when you scroll, something else you start seeing. So that's why I subtracted the height. Do you get that, David? Let me check the font we are using here. Oh, I don't think it's a Google font. But let's get our own font. Let me check it. Okay, it is. We need it in bold. That's regular. Let's use black. Regular. Light. So let's say these are the fonts we are using. Then I come to, although some of these things can be done from inside. Let me even find it. There's a way I could just set my Bootstrap, theming Bootstrap. Yes. Okay, yeah, I could change my font size, but I think this is SCSS. Oh, this is variable font. CSS variables. But let's go with what we currently have already. Now, I want to use font. Oh, what's my? So let's say this will make everything inside our, so then in demand. Although yeah, they didn't use the okay, maybe I should just remove it. Let me just do 100 ph. So a lot of time I just prefer that it doesn't go beyond the fold. Then if you look at this, you notice that this was fixed. That it had a fixed height. It has a fixed height. So we go back to navbar. Oh, it's past 2. I would have to fix. So there's a way to have it fixed, and that is fixed top. So with fixed top. So if you look at it, you can see that basically what we are doing is going to Bootstrap to, this doesn't look like it's going to fit. Let's add some content. Going to Bootstrap, look at what it is. At least that's what you'll be doing for some time. Let me see. Okay, this is 2. basically this is what you'll be doing for some time. Just go to Bootstrap, copy the style you need, and then use it where you need to use it. So this is basically and let's see where we are. So OCs. Another thing we could do is we could use PT, PX, I think that's PX5, and that's actually Y, no X, PY5. So you see, without even writing, with just a class, I added the padding top and padding bottom. So let's make this display one bold. Did I use display 3? Yes, okay. Font width 900. So this is looking okay. I think ours is bolder than what they have. 700. Let's do 700. So let's look at this too. It looks like we've just built almost a clone of what we had here. And like I mentioned, this part is also fixed. The header is also fixed. So you can, for what we have currently, does anyone have a question? Okay, this is even large. Let me just use the regular. Bootstrap actually has a ton of classes that you could just play with. A whole lot of them. So let's add some margins. So let's do MB2. Five, 3. Okay, it's looking like it. There is also a margin. Let's do MB3 here also. So now this is our student GA landing. Although there are some differences that could actually be fixed with CSS, some tiny CSS. Okay, this one looks lighter. Let's do p.lead. Opacity. To see lighter. And also, yeah. But basically, okay, let's finish this section before we just. Okay, yeah, muted. This is muted. Okay, no problem. So then we have a paragraph for this next section. Oh, sorry, this is a mistake here. H3. So I'll wrap this up in a couple of minutes now. Then we call this, okay, we can say page section. A lot of time I like to, just like Bootstrap does, I like to have my own classes also that can be reusable classes. So I don't have to write one same thing multiple times. Although what we've built is not, this is looking at N. Although what we've built is not perfectly mobile optimized yet, because we need to update a couple of things. So yeah, okay, I think even this has some challenge. Yeah. So this has some challenges itself. But then now let's complete this. I notice it looks like student is a pioneer career information specializing. So we can do H3. Let's have it as H3. Class go to display 3. Now the internet is unstable. Oh, my phone is low. Okay, so let's display 3. Let's do display 5. No, 4. Q equal to, no, I think 3, 5 is the best. Now let's dot display 3, display 5. Font width 700. Let's make this 4. I'm just trying to avoid having to. Okay, and I noticed that the text on here is okay. I have column. So our text is bigger, so let's just use H class equal to H1. So there's also one thing about Bootstrap. I could have H5, but give it a class of H1. A lot of times you wouldn't want to do that, but then why you could want to do that? Say for instance, I have written my styles. The way I do mine most times, I have the styles already. Now, I have, say for instance, I want to use H1 for this. But then, semantically, you should not have more than one H1 on your page. And the H1 you should have on your page should be, for instance, this should be our H1. Even if this is a very tiny text, I'll still make it an H1 because it's like the most important. So I would now want to say, okay, I have this H3, which, okay, this is actually a second degree. It should be H2 instead. So, okay, H2. But then I want it to be very big. And maybe this is like the only one with that particular size. Although this, what we could do for this one, for instance, we could rewrite the style such that all H2 have this size. But then sometimes when I'm feeling lazy, I just give it an H1 class. then we have this. So let me see what it. Okay. So after that, I just have the. So let's rewrite our H1, or let's use H2. Then dot H2. Now I'll finish in 30 minutes. Let's just do this. Font size, let's say 30 pixels, 32 pixels. Font width 700. Font. And also, you know, why one of the I'm checking 3 that's 3 times. So also, you know, you notice that I'm checking the code to see some of the. Ideally, if we were given a design, say we have a Figma design or maybe Photoshop or Sketch, you can easily just click on what you want to, and you can get the size that was used. So, but because we don't have that, and I don't want to say, let me create the entire page before. So I just thought we'll just be picking the styles on here. So let's look at padding. The page section at 200. We have this. Then we have our picture. Let's add our image. Accelerator class. So let's come here and asset slash images. Now we can see that this looks, so what we'll be doing next is making sure this is just like this. This is aligned, vertically aligned to the middle. So align item. I think it should be the content. So let's confirm the height of this. Let's see. The same height, so it should be aligned. Is it align or justify? No, by default they are left. So let's check justify flex. So it's align item center for, okay, let's start adding the flex to it. But I know by default it's flexed. Oh no, no, yeah. Justify. I know sometimes you need to where is the passive? Align item center. Align item center. No, this is not what I'm, yeah, this is what I'm trying to do. So why is that not working? Shoot. Let's see why it's not working. I don't like. Yeah, this should work. It must be something I'm not doing correctly. No, I don't want to okay. I could actually display flex. Flex direction. Even at that, still not, no, there's something I'm doing wrong. But I'll fix it with deflex, just like I did here. Align item center. Align content center. Item center. Then we have H100. Ideally, this should work. I don't know why it's not working. It could be fun sometimes. I'm not sure why this should work, but I'm not sure why it's not working. Align items. Where's my? Well, basically, as it is, we've been able to create the first two sections of the. Okay, let's leave it like this. We've been able to create the three actually: the header, this section, and also the section with just about 67 lines. Okay, less than 67 actually, because of the spaces or spacing. So it's just about around 60 lines of code. That is one of the things Bootstrap offers us. So, does anyone have any questions? Okay, please.
Why are the two items not aligning?
Well, like.
Yes, on like the real page.
Okay, that I was. Okay,
Oh, sorry.
okay, maybe we should just debug it. I'm trying to check why. Ideally, when I added the align, why this, right? When I added the align item center, it's supposed to work. But okay, let me check what I could be doing wrong. Which shadow? I want this. This is how the image is. So let me debug this on this screen to see line item center. Yes. No, so this is in its own, this is a section on its own, is a column on its own. This is another column on its own. So what I want to do is such that this, yeah, But then if you look at the height of the column, it's equal to this. The two columns have the same height. So by default, what we are trying to do is such that these two will always be in the middle. So, I think let's all check it. I know it's something I have to do with flex though, but let me try to.
Sorry, I want to ask, can we use positioning in this situation?
So, positioning, absolute. So a lot of time except it's very important, I try to not use absolute positioning because absolute, well, depends on what you are doing, but there are better things you could use instead of absolute position. Although there are some situations that you have no choice but to use absolute positioning. But then in those kind of exactly. So, and even things like this. So there was a time that when it comes to building responsive sites, you do a lot of positioning to make sure. But now most of these things, flex, you could use display CSS, display flex, fixes a lot of these things. So like now we are using Bootstrap. Bootstrap has its own built-in. Why is this showing like? Bootstrap has its own built-in tool to fix something like this. But let me find what I'm doing wrong. I'm sure there's something I'm doing wrong, and I need to. Maybe I'm overlooking. There's something I'm overlooking. Oh, we have a minute. So while I'm looking for this, so I want everyone to. I don't know how long it should take each person. I want everyone to build out this page. You may ignore this. No, not now. I'll drop my email. Okay, they have my email. They'll send whatever you guys do to me. So I will go through it. So I want everyone to build out this page. Yes, the entire page. No, anytime. It doesn't have to be to the end of the. Okay, so I want this page and also this page. Just these two. 210 landing page and the accelerator page. Let me check it. Just those two pages. Oh, is it? No, everything on this page. And the other page. Okay. Why Christmas tree? Okay. But you'll be enjoying Christmas. You can do it on your own. You can do it on your own. Yeah. Okay.
Excuse me, please.
I can't hear you.
Which page is this one? How did you get to this page?
Joyce, I didn't hear that. Can you please come again?
How did you get to this page?
No, I just clicked on the logo, 210 logo from the other page.
So
okay,
let's do this.
Okay, let's build this page instead. Just this page. So I want us to build this page. So I'll share the code that I have currently. You'll see what I have at least. Then I want everyone to complete it.
Okay.
I can use the mic.
Because this bottleneck now, you don't want to resolve it now, right?
I'll try to resolve it, and also I'll share the code.
Okay. If you are going to resolve it, no problem. Since you said we shouldn't use positioning.
So I'm sure it can.
Sorry.
I'm sure it must be something very tiny that I may have overlooked. So, but I know it's not something to. Okay. Yes. Definitely. So I want everyone to build that page. You can easily get the images. How I got the image. Okay, things like this. If it's okay, this is also an image. So let's build that out with as little CSS as possible. And also let's make it very responsive. There are some challenges you may see on the site. You should fix them. So I said, I think you should do the drop down, but you can ignore it. But sincerely, everything you need to do, you go through this entire documentation. Even when I'm building, even at this level, when I'm still building, sometimes I need to, how do I do? Okay, I just check it out, and that's it. Even when you are, no matter how professional you are, when you are building, you still need to check out something. I think the person that wrote React, I remember there was a day he tweeted that he had to Google something on React. Something he wrote. He had to Google something on React. And I've seen a couple of people that, for instance, Adedayo Moshood. She tweeted that there was a time she needed to fix a problem she had, and she Googled the problem. It was her own article that she saw. So it's something, a lot of people do it. A whole lot of people. A lot of people do it. So you have an issue. The issue, a lot of time, most time when I have issues, I've done this before. Check one of my previous projects. Okay, these are and because number one, you are not expected to memorize all these things. It is the ones you use regularly. Just like JavaScript, even all HTML tags, you may not know everything. But when you use it constantly, regularly, then it sticks. So it's most time it's about how often you use than. So I think that's basically it. I'll still try to find what I'm doing wrong here, though. But yeah, I'll share the code maybe on. Maybe I'm thinking, should I finish this page? Then I give you guys another page to work on instead. Let's take a vote. Let's see. Okay, this is okay. Should I just let's do it this way. I'm thinking we should do each person does not this. Each person does a page instead. Okay. Let's do, so this is the page we have filled it. Let's go with this page. It should be perfectly responsive. I'll send to. So let's build this out. Should look like this as much as possible. It may not be exactly like this. That's the thing. It may not be exactly like this, but should look like this as much as possible. So when can we submit? People online. I want responses. Okay, let's submit. We will be submitting on the 31st of December, latest. So I'll review everybody. He said, what's the total number of guys in the class? So, so to make them submit faster, what should we do? So, Charles said I should add a price tag to it. So this is what we'll do. Number one, there are two things. I'll be reviewing. Number one, I'm not looking at speed, sincerely. Submit when you can. But then, number one, the person that uses the least CSS, that is one. Number two, it should be closest to the design. And number three, should be well mobile optimized. I think that's because it was something that had to do with font sizing. You fix it. Like I said, fix it. When you see any issue, fix it. So fix it. I'll be doing a month data subscription for the person. This internet. Unlimited. So I'll be doing airtime subscription to the tune of 5K. Well, so see, when you win, why I said if you think you will wait, you can do 3 months of it. Say for instance, I don't know how much data I use in a month, but you can say for instance, no, I prefer data. No, I prefer data because airtime, eventually you use airtime to do data. Okay, I will do airtime, depending on what you prefer, either airtime or data. So that's why I said the winner will decide what they. So like I said, to the tune of 5K. Yeah, just one person. Oh, you want me to give 5K to? Okay, let's do 3 people. So we'll do 5K, 3K, and 2K. So don't worry. So like we were saying, people online. So now we've turned it into a competition. I don't care when you submit, but as long as you submit before the 31st of this month. So this is what will happen. I don't know if I should ask 2 people to do GitHub or send me the code. I will agree with doing on how to get the code. So I'm hoping. Okay. No, let's take it. Let's vote. Is anyone see online? Do you have people see online? So I think we should vote. How do you want us to do it? Would you prefer to do with GitHub, like do a full process flow, or let's just do this and which one where you create PRs, and the way you create your PRs, for instance, I'll be looking at your class naming. Class naming is very important to me. It's very important. It's very important to me. You have issues with it. So now, by default, well, there is no one size fits all. There are 6 of us in this room, and there are about 13 people online, I assume. Now, if we are to do if we are to, oh, I think we should stop recording. Right? So, okay. So if, for instance, 5 of us are asked to name individual sections on this page, I can assure you that like 20 of us, there will be differences in the name as it's expected. So what's important is the fact you should just try to ensure that when you are naming your classes, you ensure that it's something that I can easily relate with and every other person can easily relate with. Just like when naming your variables, just like saying you want to name variable, you say constant 2 plus 1. What is 2 plus 1? So you just give it a better name that would people would understand. Or you are creating a function, you want to name your function. So just that's the same thing with classes. It's one of the major headaches we always have. So okay, I'll write out the list of what I'm looking for. I'll also be looking for how much reusable code you actually write. Like with usable classes. Say for instance, this 100% online is the same thing as this. I don't expect you to style this and still style this. By default, it should be one class. And so for instance, this, I don't expect you to say a class Android development, another class front-end development, another class data science. So no. So I'll speak with Doyin or Okpe on the things the core things I'll be looking out for. And yeah. So latest by 31st of this month, I'll review all the codes. And so did you say we are going with GitHub? Pushing to GitHub. Okay, I think GitHub is better. So do you want to? Oh, I think we should. So I'll Netlify. Okay, yeah. So no, let's do this thing. No, let's say this is what we'll do. I believe everyone here has a GitHub account. So push to your GitHub account and just share the link. And also, your README is important. Your README file is important. Yes. So what I expect, even if you don't tell me how you go about, okay, now your README, I want you to tell me, number one, the challenges you had while building. Just like the README, I want to be able to, I'll write out, when I get home, I'll think of all the things I've built. So I'll write out the things I expected. So why I said the README is, so I want to be able to, I know when building, there are some questions you would have for me. Note them down in the README. So when I'm reading, or maybe there are some challenges you had, I'm not able to do this part because of 1, 2, 3. You can have a section in your README that's just challenge. So while checking your code or while previewing your work on Netlify, I've seen your README that, oh, I'm not able to do this because of this. Okay. When I'm checking the code, just like say for instance, this thing that I did, I could just, in my README, I would have said, maybe I could use the name of the class, or I'm not able to vertically align this because if I had more time, just something. So I know that, oh, when I see this, or when I'm previewing the site, I already prepared my mind to see this. So when I see this, should have done ABC, then to be easy to, I'll review all the codes and I'll tell you what you could have done better, how you could have done it. I'll also finish up this, but I won't push the code. I'll finish it up, and maybe after the challenge, I will then. Yeah, I'll fix this. I'll fix it today. No, I'll share this one. What we built here, I'll share it. What we built. Should I? I don't. No. Let me share it. Okay, this is what. This is what I'll do. Okay, this is what I'll do. This is what I'll do. Maybe I'll work on another page. I'll create the entire page. So I'll work on a page that will be different from what you guys will be working on. That will have this. So I just check this page. It has this. So it will be perfectly mobile, and yeah. So I think that is. So I see. So I think that is all for today. I'm sorry I spent too much of your time. Does anyone have last questions for me? So why did you say you hate JavaScript? I mean, I don't saying something about, oh, you hate content. What do you prefer? Backend. But okay, so I believe people are still on this call also. So front end to some, when you say how does it button work? What do you mean?
So like basically when we were applying, the water was the backend track. So I was just on the backend track. But because when we were applying for this our school,
Yeah.
there was also software engineering to start, right? So at this point I was going to JavaScript necessarily needed front-end to start actually for DOM manipulation. Are you understanding? So we have done I've seen everything I have to do for front-end. Right? Even all these measures.
Have you made API calls with?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So because that's the front end. When you click a button, what should happen? This button should make a call to an API. So that's the front end. So what you want to do is you want to be able to say when this button is clicked and when this API call is made, what should happen? Makes sense. So yeah, I think front end is actually very good for people that are, number one, not ladies that do makeup. Front end is actually very good for people that there's this that are detail oriented, that pay attention to detail. So I'm the kind of person that when I'm building, for instance, if this thing is 2 pixels, when I finish in the design, if it is 2 pixels, by the time I finish, it must be 2 pixels. If it is more than 2 pixels, I've done something wrong. If it is 1.9 pixels, it is still wrong. So that's front end is for people like that, because you want to be sure it works well and it works how you want it to work. Because yes, it works. Is that how I want it to work? No, then it's not working. So you have to be able to pay attention to detail. But on the back end, you don't have to. I don't like colors. When I just start, I'm not a fan of colors. I don't like mixing colors. I can wear pink and wear blue. I'm not a fan of color. But then when it comes to that's why we have UI guys go and do the mixing of color. Mix your black with onion pink. Then just give it to me. I'll work on it. I'll translate the code where that works fine on device. So that's basically it. Front end, back end, everything is fun. It just depends on what you stem as fun. Ideally, there would have been a design for this. So what I'm doing, you notice where I'm inspecting elements, picking the font size. So I'm just using this as the UI. because we don't have access to the UI itself. So I'm using this. That's why you see sometimes, and that's one of the things I expect you to do. Sometimes you want to check to see the font size. So here I noticed they use the rem for most of their font sizing. So this is 4 rem. Now, by default, well, most people, I think, is it default? No, not default. Yeah, 16 pixels. I think Bootstrap uses either 16 or 14. I'm not sure which. So, but most people that use pixel, they use 16. So when you see something like 4 rem, you do 4 times 16. That's 48. So I noticed this person, the person that built the front end of this, used 16 pixels, because I noticed when I did 48 pixels for this, it looked exactly like this. So I think that's basically it. Attention to detail. I don't think you need to do this, but you can impress me by adding this. No, seriously, no, and I don't expect you to write any JavaScript. No, I don't even want to say any JavaScript. Everything here is CSS. This, we have accordion in Bootstrap. This exists. It's just a few lines of code. So these arrows, okay, I think this is the only place there is an arrow. So I know you guys will figure it. All right, I think that will be all for now. People those online, I believe everyone enjoyed the session, and I believe everyone understands one or two things about Bootstrap. And this is just like a kickstart, just to show you Bootstrap basics. You can become a Bootstrap power user. You can build websites with Bootstrap, and I have a boss then. Whenever Akinyele Olubodu. So whenever at one point he said he doesn't want you to build. Anytime you need to build, you'll be like, no, I don't want Bootstrap. I'm like, why? He said there's always this. There is always a Bootstrap feel. When you see a Bootstrap side, there's always a boot. I said, well, let's try this. And when I built, it was like, did you use Bootstrap? I said, yes, of course. I said, no, you didn't use Bootstrap. And that's because I had seen it to the point that you would not even know that Bootstrap was used at all. So that is, and if you look at even basically looking at this, there's an issue with our font. So because if you look at this G is different from this, so which means the font that was used here. So those are some of the things we'll be checking here to confirm. The font, so if you look at this also, we don't have the Bootstrap view. We don't have the Bootstrap view. But some people, that's why sometimes you have to add your own small styles. Let me open, no. So that's why you don't have, you add your small styles. So I think that will be all for now. Thank you guys for having me. I'll get back to everyone. I'll drop the take-home assignment with Doyin or Kwemi, and I'll let you know the terms and conditions. So I think that's all for now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.